Just imagine this. You've been walking with your tribe for 5 straight days. The sun is directly overhead. Every drop of sweat running down your body is taking a little more of your strength with it. The children are crying. The elderly can barely keep moving. And the entire tribe has only one hope left, a successful hunt. Finally, after hours of tracking, you bring down a massive deer. That night, everyone eats until they're full. The fire lights up the cave. For the first time in days, people are smiling again. Everyone believes the danger is finally over, but over the next few days, something begins to change. The strongest hunter in the tribe, the one who always leads the way, starts by day. His strength seems to disappear. No one understands why. He isn't starving. He isn't injured. So why is his body suddenly giving up? Thousands of years ago, problems like this weren't always caused by disease or poisonous animals or dangerous predators. Sometimes they were caused by something that today sits quietly on almost every kitchen table: salt. Today, we barely think about it. If our food tastes a little bland, we simply add another pinch. But 50,000 years ago, salt wasn't just a seasoning. It was strength. It was endurance. And in many situations, it could mean the difference between survival and death. But here's the real question. If there were no grocery stores, no markets, no salt mines, and no civilization, where did ancient humans get the salt their bodies needed? And what happened if they couldn't find any for weeks or even months? To answer that, we have to travel back 50,000 years. A world without cities, without farms, without roads. Every single morning, only one question mattered. Will we find food today or not? A successful hunt meant another day of survival. A failed hunt meant hunger, weakness, and another dangerous journey tomorrow. But finding meat wasn't the only challenge, because the human body doesn't survive on calories alone. It also depends on essential minerals that keep every muscle, every nerve, and every heartbeat working. One of the most important is sodium. Without enough sodium, your nerves can't send signals properly. Your muscles begin to cramp. Your body struggles to control its fluids, and over time, your strength slowly fades away. But here's something that surprises most people. Ancient humans didn't sprinkle salt onto their food the way we do today, yet they survived for hundreds of thousands of years. How? The first answer was hiding inside their prey. Unlike today's processed meat, wild animals naturally contain sodium, especially in their blood, their organs, and fresh muscle tissue. Every successful hunt did more than satisfy hunger. It also replaced minerals their bodies desperately needed, but that was fast, without catching a single large animal. And that's when ancient humans noticed something strange. They watched deer, wild bison, elephants, and countless other animals travel long distances to the exact same place again and again. There wasn't better grass there. There wasn't cleaner water. Yet every major animal kept returning. At first, humans believed it was simply a good place to hunt, but after quietly watching from a distance, they realized the animals weren't coming to eat plants. They were licking the ground. That single discovery would eventually lead humans to one of nature's greatest hidden treasures. But what was buried inside that ordinary patch of earth that made almost every animal in the forest return to it again and again, that's where the real story begins. So, why did those animals keep returning to the exact same place over and over again? The hunters stayed hidden, watching from a distance for days. A deer would arrive, lower its head, and slowly lick the ground. It stayed there for several minutes before quietly disappearing back into the forest. Then a herd of wild bison arrived. They did the exact same thing. Later, a family of elephants appeared. Instead of eating plants, they used their massive feet to dig into the soil. Then they scooped up the damp earth with their trunks and placed it directly into their mouths. This wasn't random. It wasn't luck. Nearly every large animal, in the forest. A few days later, the tribe's oldest hunter made a decision. He slowly walked to that strange patch of ground. He picked up a handful of dirt. He smelled it. Then, very carefully, he touched it with the tip of his tongue. The taste was strange, earthy, slightly bitter, but there was something else, a faint, salty taste. That was natural salt. Today, scientists call places like these salt licks, natural areas where minerals buried deep underground slowly rise to the surface. For thousands of years, rainwater seeps through layers of rock. As those rocks slowly dissolve, minerals like sodium collect inside the soil. Animals, with their incredible sense of smell and taste, can detect these places from miles away. And now, humans had finally discovered one of nature's greatest survival secrets. But the story doesn't end there, because finding salt was only half the battle. Protecting it was much harder. Imagine this. After months of searching, your tribe finally discovers a place that could keep everyone alive. A place where your children, your hunters, and your elders could all get. That patch of ground wasn't just dirt. It was life itself. Many researchers believe some prehistoric tribes returned to the same regions again, not just because of water, not just because of animals, but because those places offered all fresh water, reliable hunting, and natural minerals. Their journeys weren't simply following prey, they were following nature's hidden treasure. But what if an area had no salt lick at all? That's where the greatest human ability began to appear. Ancient humans weren't just hunters, they were exceptional observers. They noticed something else. Some animals were stronger than others. They could travel farther. Their muscles looked healthier. They recovered little by little. Humans learned that if you followed the animals long enough, they wouldn't just lead you to food, they would lead you to salt. That's why many prehistoric hunters didn't read footprints only to catch their prey. They also followed the direction those tracks were heading, because they understood something like most people never think about today. Animals always return to the places that keep them healthy. And by watching them, humans learned one of the greatest lessons nature could ever teach. But here's another fascinating question. If salt was so valuable, did ancient humans store it for later? The honest answer is, we don't know for sure. The archaeological evidence isn't complete, but we do know this. As human civilization grew, the value of salt grew with it. Thousands of years later, when the first civilizations appeared, salt became far more than food. It became wealth. It became trade. In many places, workers were even paid with goods connected to salt. And in ancient Rome, the Latin word salarium became associated with payments and allowances, eventually giving rise to the English word salary. Think about that. 50,000 years ago, humans were following animals just to find salt. Thousands of years later, that same mineral helped shape the world's economy. But perhaps the most incredible part of this entire story is something else. If animals had how to find natural salt, humans might have needed thousands more years to discover it themselves, which means the first teachers in human history may not have been kings or scientists or even great hunters. They may have been the wild animals of the forest. Without speaking a single word, they showed humans that the most valuable things are often hidden in the most ordinary places. Sometimes they're buried beneath nothing more than a patch of dirt, and maybe that's the real